When a Truck Hit Me by Lily Bucher, my personal narrative. My body resisted against the straps of the board that held me, and I gasped for air. My ears were ringing, and my vision was blurry. What had happened? My mind was blank, as though this was my first moment alive. Slowly, everything came into focus. Although all I could see was the ceiling, I could tell I was in a moving vehicle. I heard sirens, their screaming wails faint, but not distant. I'm in an ambulance, I realized. The lights of the metal ceiling were bright, but they did not blind me. I saw my mother and a man sitting on either side of me. My mother saw that I had stopped thrashing and talked reassuring messages in my ear. How did I get here? My memories came back, at least most of them. It was a few years ago, the summer before 7th grade. I was starting at a new school in the coming fall. The August air hinted at leaves, now green, but soon a collection of reds, oranges, and yellows. Yes, school was coming, but first the beach. Like every summer, my family went down to Bethany Beach, Delaware, for a week. A week of ice cream, shopping, waves, sandcastles, and bikes. Perhaps one of the greatest joys of the beach is biking wherever one would wish to go. The freedom and possibilities are infinite. A few days had passed since we arrived. We had already completed the necessary actions, but tonight was different. Up until tonight, we had eaten at home for our trip, but tonight we were eating at Mango Mike's. I, having the fearless 11-year-old soul that I did, opted to bike to town rather than take the car with my grandparents and my dad. It never felt right to drive anywhere at the beach for me. The cool, salty night wind whipped my sun-bleached hair in my face as I rode, my expression the essence of joy. I arrived at the restaurant, the first of the bikers, and dinner went off without a hitch, but little did I know that the night was long from over. It was a ride backward and hit me, literally. I, full from music and ice cream, failed to see the truck around the corner and drive toward me until it was too late. I fell and screamed. I was told later that at one point I was under the mass of white metal and only lived because I happened to be between the wheels. My scream, as loud as a banshee's, was riddled with fear. My eyes, clouded with the effort of resisting unconsciousness, made out a crowd of people, including my parents. A man, an EMT, performed various tests on my paralyzed body. I later learned that he happened to be driving back to his house when he saw the crime scene. A woman too helped me. She was no professional, but managed to quiet the terror escaping via my vocal cords. An ambulance was called. A helicopter was considered, but it was decided that it would only worsen the situation. After an eternity, the ambulance arrived, and my body was strapped onto a board. My disconnected mind struggled to come out of the fog. The confusion was too much. I made it to BB Hospital in Lewis. They rushed me in and took me to a private room, and they questioned me with simple facts, such as where I lived and what my name was. During all this, they checked my limbs for signs of broken bones. They suspected a fracture, and I had acquired some serious road rash. They left, leaving my mother with me. Eventually, a doctor of some sort took me to a room where he had my mother and I put on lead jackets, and he took X's of my arm. At this point, I had calmed down enough to fully realize what had happened. When I got back to the room, I started laughing hysterically as though I was a hyena. My mom looked shocked and asked what was wrong. I replied, "My friends are not going to believe this." I suppose I was in shock. Later, my dad came to pick us up. I was not so seriously hurt that I needed to stay overnight, but I spent the rest of vacation in bed with my foot propped up on pillows watching movies. I suppose I should tell you about the rest of vacation and the aftermath of the incident. When we arrived home, my mother and I went to an orthopedist or a bone doctor. The doctor at the hospital had advised me in visiting an orthopedist as there was a slight chance that I had a fracture in my right arm. Luckily, there was not one, but I still had to keep my arm in a sling, and to keep my road rash out of the sun, as it was very sensitive, and any sort of sunburn would slow down the healing process. Slowly, it scabbed over and eventually healed. And as for my bike, we got it checked out and discovered it wasn't so seriously bent. But it took a while to get the small things fixed. So, for 7th grade, I didn't have a bike. And even though I did not get seriously hurt, it was still a scary experience, and I know definitely to keep my helmet on.